Are you okay? Okay, all right, okay, and we've got that one good, okay. We'll start with roll call. Did you do that?
It still won't count. Never found it. Dan Dowland.
Yes.
We don't have a vice president. Charlene DeWitt.
Sure.
Charlene Watson.
Present.
Nancy Nitch.
Present.
Marge Schneider.
Here.
Bob Lovelace.
Present.
Judy Albers. Present. Rose Landis.
Present.
Carrie Mae.
And
Karen
Karen
Mays.
Mays as a guest. And several
Other guests.
guests.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Minutes of the last meeting. Everybody have those in front of you?
On both sides.
Yeah, both sides. All right. Gonna be okay, Charlene?
Yep,
All right.
I think so. I sang Christmas Carol in the Light till midnight last night. President Jan Dowland called the meeting to order at 9 a.m. The meeting was held in the Lincoln Senior Center. Judy Albers called a roll with the following members present: Jan Dowland, Bob Lovelace, Judy Albers, Marge Snyder, Charlene Watson, and Charlene DeWitt. Guests included Chris Lovelace, Jeannie Freeze, Becky Rathman, Cindy Nelson, Rose Landis, and Mona Gerstmann. Secretary Watson read the minutes from the October 25th, 2018 meeting. The minutes were approved as correct. Judy Albers read the minutes of the October 25 special business meeting. The minutes were approved as corrected. Bob Lovelace handed out a letter from Karen Mays, Senior Opportunities and Community Services Supervisor. The letter detailed a copy of what their board has determined is the goal of the different partner organizations that work together to make the meals program and aging services in the county successful. She enclosed the examples of the agenda and now reports how reports should be given at LCCA meetings. She also gave ideas on what she thought would be helpful to the LCCA in hiring a new county coordinator, and what their board considers conflict of interest that should be avoided in hiring a new coordinator. In closing, we discussed how communication should be handled during the meetings. President Jan presented the financial report and detailed what disbursements were made. She said a bill has not been received from the Lincoln Sentinel newspaper for our ads yet. Jan also discussed our money market account at the Bank of Pesca. Bills presented were $225.28 for Jan Dowland for mileage to deliver meals, $76 for home health care reimbursement, and $262.24 to Roger Hayward for rent on the other building. Payment to Lincoln Senior Center.
No.
Selvin. Sorry. Payment to Selvin Senior Center caused an overdraft at the Citizen State Bank. Jan cashed the CD at the Bank of Tescott for $3,500 to cover the overdraft. She asked permission to go to the Bank of Tescott and transfer funds on a regular checking account. Julie Albert moved that Jan take care of this transaction. Discussion followed. Bob Lovelace moved that Treasurer Charlene DeWitt go with Janet Dowland to the Prescott State Bank and take care of this transaction. Seconded by Charlene Watson. Motion passed unanimously. Bob Lovelace asked for a written notice of resignation. Asked if a written notice of resignation was received from Carissa Richards met with the executive board about her resignation. President Jan explained that only a verbal resignation was received at that time. Bob asked how much was paid to Teresa. She received $788.38 in salary and $529.88 on her IRA. Judy made a motion that Jan go to Mrs. Krangle to talk to her about what we need to do and how the finances should be handled on the 1099 at the end of the year. Charlene DeWitt seconded the motion. Bob made a motion to send a letter to Teresa requesting a written resignation, seconded by Mark Snyder and passed unanimously. Under old business, Jen said we have 2 application letters for board positions. These are for board 1 and 3 and the at-large position. Alan Serene applied for the District 3 or the at-large position. Jeannie Freese applied for District 3. There was a discussion as to whether she lives in this district or not. Judy moved to carry this over to next month's meeting to allow for one more ad in the papers. Charlene DeWitt seconded the motion and it carried unanimously. It will be voted on at the December meeting along with the election of new office. Only one application has been received for the coordinator position so far, and that was from Becky Rathman. Judy moved that we wait to pay Becky wages that since she has been helping out where needed until after the meeting with Jeannie Krangle takes place. President Allen noted we need to make a decision on when to vacate the Court Street office. We need to let Roger Hayward know as soon as possible. Judy moved we give him notice and move back to the senior center. Bob seconded the motion. All were in agreement. The center will be charging us $100 a month for this side room, but Becky wants to get it painted before we move in. The landline and fax machine are on our own. Judy and Bob will facilitate the move to this room from the Court Street office. President Allen said we need to discuss moving our December meeting to the 3rd Tuesday, which will be the 18th, since the 4th Tuesday will be on Christmas. All agreed to the change. Rose Landis gave a report for the NCFHAA. Cindy Nelson gave a report from the 18 County Board. Mark Snyder made a motion to close the meeting, seconded by Charlene DeWitt. Motion carried. Charlene Watson seconded.
Any additions or corrections to the minutes?
Yeah. No, I can't find it. About Teresa, we said, because I made the motion, that it be by certified letter. Written, bottom of the first page. Bob Loveless asked if a written notice of resignation.
Okay, so we need to add that you...
Yes, that it was, we asked for a certified letter be sent.
That'd be on the back side.
Oh.
On the back side. Bob made a motion to send a certified letter to Teresa requesting her resignation.
Okay.
And Jan said that she would take care of that.
And I'll talk about that. Okay. Any other corrections? Okay. They'll stand approved as corrected. Right? Next, let's go to, I'll get my financial report. As I said, I transferred the Bank of Tuscan money market to the Citizen State Bank checking account, and that was for that amount, $20,256.23.
20,000.
Yeah, 20,000, yeah.
It's written. Oh, I'm
It's right on
sorry.
there. Okay. And then rent was paid for the office on Court Street, $244.06. That includes electric and water. And home health client was reimbursed $19. Received, yeah.
You got a different one than we've got.
I don't have any of that, so. This is last,
Here,
last. Where's yours?
Okay.
I don't
Is there an
know.
extra one over there?
it's more important you have it.
Well, I gotta go back. I guess I can get it off of here.
Here.
Here's that.
Yeah. I listed all of them right there.
Okay, well, if I can keep it,
Yeah, you can keep that. Lucas Publishing for the ads there was $39.60. Lincoln Sentinel for the ads that we placed there was $166.30. And at the present, the printout that we used to get from Teresa, with the finances on it, that's all on the computer. And I don't have the access to the computer. I don't know the password to the computer. So I couldn't get in to put any of these things into that.
Don't you get a bank statement?
No, we are going to have to request a written bank statement from the Citizen State Bank. Now, I got one from them when we had the overdraft because of the check to Silva, but I haven't gotten anything since then. So we're going to have to go over and request monthly. And I don't know if they will charge us for those or what.
I wouldn't think they would charge for
Okay.
a bank statement.
Uh-huh. Okay.
That's their obligation.
Okay, Jan, we don't, so our bank records aren't going to be correct, my understanding, because we're still paying for her health insurance.
Yes,
Drop
and
it.
I
See?
tried. I even went to the desk, found the folder and everything for this, called them, and their identification number and everything is on there. They wouldn't let me do anything unless I had her date of birth. And I had no idea, under God's green earth, what her date of birth is.
But you told us when she first resigned that you had canceled the insurance. You didn't say that it was pending. You told us, yes, because we asked about her paycheck and the insurance, and it was stated you had canceled it.
No, I think
We
I
know for a
stated that I
fact,
was
we
going to
know
look
for a
into
fact
it.
that our bank statements are wrong, and that's going to get us in trouble, because we still haven't paid a phone bill, but you haven't received a phone bill, right?
No.
You haven't received that, and that's still on over there.
And
Those
I
things
check the
should have been
mail
turned
2 or
off.
3 times a week.
And the gas is still on.
Well, that's
Yeah, but
stated
we
in
don't
the-
want to. We don't want to turn the gas off
It's pipes.
until we've moved out of the building, because with the temperatures that we have right now,
But Roger wants
pipes-
to know because he'll put it in his name. He's got a possible renter
okay,
lined up.
okay. Well then, I need to go. I need to go and talk with him and get that taken care of. So
Can we not go to the bank and stop payment on that Blue Cross or the insurance premium?
That's
Well,
$700
it's-
some
it's-
dollars a month.
It's been drawn automatically out of the account, which that's going
But I mean, can't you tell the bank
Seven.
not to pay that?
It's $600 some odd dollars. So that's almost $2,000 we paid.
It
3
raised
months.
$738, I think was the
Yeah.
last.
Well, 600 something is our share, and she pays
Oh,
36
for her
something.
dental.
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
Okay,
but we need to get that stopped.
okay, my next question is, would she have to, and I don't know, is this for just 1 year? And would she have to re-enroll like most everybody else does?
It'll
Open
auto,
enrollment?
it'll
I'll
auto
go back to
renew.
insurance. I'm telling you right now,
It auto
we're
renew.
paying that, and we shouldn't be paying it. So,
It's ridiculous.
this is,
That's what I had the question about open enrollment, whether she would have to go back and enroll.
oh, she
I don't
has to.
think so.
No, it automatically goes
Automatically
over.
goes.
If you don't contact a change in your insurance, it automatically rolls over because it's in her name, the way I understand it. It isn't in the counseling of aging.
And open enrollment really doesn't have any. How old's Teresa?
I have no
That's
idea.
not true.
But like if we don't change ours, it automatically
Yeah,
just
it
keeps
just
going.
And Becky got a
She was
phone
there
call,
in
so let her
She
talk.
was in my daughter's
Becky got
class
something
in
to
high
say.
school.
I got a phone call yesterday because
Well, how old's your daughter?
Blue Cross and Blue Shields had called the Council on Aging building, and then, our message says, if you have any questions, call Becky. Although she doesn't have the answers, let's just say that. But they called me, and they said that they were going to auto-renew because her account, her policy is in her name, but it's in the council, it's under the Council on Aging's, but in her name. And because they have received nothing that says that they're not, they would auto-renew. He went ahead and emailed me because of Jeannie's core request. I had the group number that I could say that I looked like I knew what was going on, although I didn't. And he went ahead and emailed me a HIPAA form, and I don't know where I did with that. There's a HIPAA form that you guys have to fill out as a
Yeah,
group,
right here.
Okay.
Yeah.
as the Council on Aging, and then I told him I could fax that back to him today, but it has to be somebody on your board that can fill that out, and I can fax it in today, and then you guys can get it taken care of.
Well, should that be our president or should it be our secretary?
It
I would
doesn't
say
make-
whoever has access to your accounts is what I would say. But
Well, that'd be Jan.
so
Well,
yeah.
myself or Charlene. Charlene is also
The treasurer.
can count. She's treasurer and she can sign checks.
Okay, Teresa would be
Because Teresa was your employee,
Teresa would
so
be 63 years old because she'd be the same.
Okay, so the open enrollment doesn't really
Apply to her because
Karen has something to say.
Okay.
So,
Karen.
if I might,
Pardon me?
if I might, since I'm a counselor on insurance, period. All right, first of all, the open enrollment period has to do with Medicare.
Yeah.
This
Uh-huh.
policy that you're talking about is
Okay.
employer insurance. As the employer of record, you can cancel a policy on an individual anytime you have a change in employment circumstances. So, you are in the driver's seat with this insurance.
Okay.
You will
So
need
why
to
did
call.
they tell me that I had to have her date of birth?
You called it Blue Cross.
I
and
called
said
Blue
that.
Cross and Blue Shield. Yeah.
And very likely, as the employer of record, you may have to have her date of birth in order to identify yourself as the employer of record.
Uh-huh.
So I'm not sure if you have employment records for Teresa or not. They can't just take a phone call from anybody
Right.
Yeah.
who says
yeah, I understand.
that
Okay,
we're
I
the
understand
employer.
that.
This would help you identify yourself as the employer. But if you may be able to find out from them if they have any other ways that you can communicate with them rather than phone to show that you are the employer, they may require you to have her date of birth in order to cancel the insurance.
So when
But
do we have?
can't we just go to the bank and say stop payment?
Well, you could do that, but I wouldn't recommend that as your best way of handling this. Because when you stop payment, you quit paying your bills, as opposed to we're actively canceling something. I don't want to be in the position of I'm a deadbeat who doesn't pay bills. it would be much better to work as the employer and letting them know that you no longer have this employee on record that is a change in circumstance.
But Karen, where the position changes every 2 years, Teresa's been here for 13 years. It should be on an application for her application should be on file someplace, with somebody. Jan wouldn't know that. See,
I looked through the whole.
No.
I went to the office and I looked through the whole.
So
file.
the thing is to let and I would let them know that she resigned, she's off the board, we cannot find the records. What are you going to need from us
now,
in order
we
to
have a
proceed?
signed verbal resignation letter, and Jan received that. We have that in writing now. Would that be sufficient enough?
It may be, and so there's where I'm saying call the insurance company, let them know that you have that signed resignation letter, and what do we need to do to go forward?
But you've
Did
already
they tell you
paid
what
it.
the?
You've already
The
paid
guy
it.
that called yesterday sent me an email, so I have his name and his contact information that I can
That's
help you
not
with.
it.
But
When is the enrollment? Or
well, when you look at Jeannie's core request page, it said that it was set to start on 1/1 of 2018.
Right.
So I'm assuming that this new one, because he said if we haven't heard anything from you, we'll automatically
Enroll.
go ahead and do it again.
Right, and so that's not surprising because for most insurance companies, they have an open enrollment period for the employees right during about the same time that Medicare is happening, but it is a separate open enrollment period for employers. And we have that, a similar thing, only ours for our agency headquarters staff happens now, and we start January 1
Hey,
for our
we're
field.
safe.
The birthday's on there. Oh, okay. You got. Thank you, Jeannie,
So-
for your court request.
So there you go. So the answer.
Ah,
Thank you, Jeannie.
The answer is that it depends on how your business sets up, because for all of our field team that we have to insure, that open enrollment period is in April. So but if she's got it, then you
Okay,
should
we've
be
got it.
able
So-
to proceed.
okay, so we should be able to fill out that request and with her date of birth on it, and we
No,
should
I'm
be
just
okay.
glad you found it. And the thing is now, what you want to do is establish who's going to be. I would recommend that you establish from that board who is going to be your board liaison as an employer, if you're going to employ people, with the Blue Cross and Blue Shield.
Mm-hmm.
But we've already paid ever since she's been gone. And so, how do you squeeze blood out of a turnip?
You may not be able to get
You can't
you cannot
you can't
get a
recoup that.
refund for premiums already paid. You can
Yeah.
only stop it when you let them know it's stopped. Because from their point of view as an
I
insurer,
understand.
they have a contract with you to insure her. If anything had happened during that time period, they would have had to go ahead and pay for the expenses. So they will not cancel and they will also not refund, because even now they could still be billed by a medical provider that they would have to pay the bill, and they're on record for having to do that.
But Teresa could be liable to pay back, because when she left, how many months ago, we've been paying her insurance ever since.
Well,
So, but that's why I said you can't squeeze blood out of a turnip. You might get colored water.
Well, I think that's our
Her family just had a nice Christmas
Yeah.
present.
that we didn't.
Yeah.
Well, and that's another
So-
thing. Yeah.
We did.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. What I was just going to say is that you could look at this a lot of ways. Why would we want to look at it in such a way that we would want to go and demand that she pay her insurance premiums? If we would have been in a position to take care of it sooner, it would have been better for us to cancel it. But since we didn't, maybe we should take the ownership of that. and let it
Cancel
go.
it, I think, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, also, we're going to address this one more time.
Pay mine.
Is on her. We've got it in our notes that she received over $1,200 for her IRA and her sick leave and annual leave. Was taxes withheld on that? We are liable for those taxes. So, Jan, when you wrote her that check without confronting the board about anything, you did it yourself as the president. Who's going to be responsible for that? Are we going to get Jean Kane to go back, and are we going to pay the taxes for her for that?
Can't you send her, what's that form?
1099.
Yeah, we're going to have to send
Okay.
her a 1099.
All right.
Regardless, you gotta send her that regardless
Regardless.
because
Right.
she was an employee.
That's right. The taxes have got to be paid or withheld, and we haven't done that. I don't think.
That's
No.
done quarterly.
Okay.
Not on a
Not on a
resignation letter. They paid her the money directly. Taxes was not withheld. We are responsible for those taxes.
Okay,
Yeah, the employer part of the taxes you
So,
will.
that's what,
but I've got a report later
Okay.
on
Okay.
that.
Okay. All right. Well, how did we found that?
All
Okay.
right.
So,
So is somebody going to send a letter to Blue Cross and Blue Shield, a registered letter, and making sure
We
Well-
need to go on with this first.
we will fill out
This
this
form,
make
form
sure they get it?
and
Becky
make
can fax
sure it is
Becky said
faxed.
she would fax
Yeah,
it.
Becky
Becky
said
will
she
help
would
you do it
fax it.
today. Right now, she'll help you do it.
Yeah. And
So-
if not, I'll come back this afternoon after I deliver meals and help Becky with it.
I'll make a motion. I'd like to make a motion that Judy Alvers will take care of that.
She's not any board, I mean, she's on the
it's
board,
gotta
but
be
she's not
a
a,
board member,
Executive member?
yes. That's what it
it has to be Jan or
It says right here, maybe a director, senior executive, or applicable, you know. Anyway, you need someone of authority to sign this when it's faxed.
Are we going to vote on new officers today?
That's later.
Well,
That's
that's-
Well, then we just put this on hold then.
No, you need to get it done.
We need, you
no.
don't understand what I'm saying. Put it on hold till after we have our board meeting. Our new president can take care of that.
Well, it's old
It needs to be
No,
done
it's-
this month.
It needs to be done
now.
this month. It needs to be
old
done now, Bob.
All right, because that's January 1st.
So, and
Right.
I will, if necessary, come back.
This will be filled in today.
That will be filled in
Okay,
today.
so
Okay,
I
I just
rescind the motion.
I don't know what you guys are at, but I just got a call from Art Wagner, and he wanted to know who was in charge because he has a workman's comp policy that is due in the middle of January. And so he just wanted to get, whenever you guys are making all these decisions, heads up that
He's
Your
got a
workman's-
claim or to
no, it's your workman's
your
your
insurance.
insurance, your workman's comp insurance
Okay.
that you have to have if you have an employee. So
Okay.
another thing to the
think-
list.
So
So Jan, you're going to take care of that today.
Well, I will. See, I got something. Let me tell you about it here in just a little bit. Okay.
I
so,
think any business deal should have copies made and put on the record here. In the future, anything that happens should be accountable. They can make a copy, put it in your file, then you have it for next time.
Well, that's the way it should be anyway.
That's the way it should be, accountability.
Okay. Jan,
Well,
go
can
ahead.
the
Okay.
papers be filled out right now? It wouldn't take 5 minutes.
Well,
And Becky
No.
let's
can
go on with our
fax
meeting.
it.
Let's go on with our meeting.
because the meeting is taking too
Oh,
long.
okay.
Okay.
She got to leave.
yeah, I'll have to leave and I'm somebody keep track of the time here. Okay. So, what do we have, Charlene? We have a motion to.
Bob can.
No. I rescinded that motion because you're going to take care of it. That motion was for Judy. She's not an executive board,
No,
so you have to take care of it.
Okay. But do you still want the motion to
Can't make a motion.
apply to me
Yes.
to get it
Yes.
done?
Yes.
Okay, then we need to vote on it.
Well, you need a second. You don't have a second yet. Or he can withdraw the motion, which he did. As long
I
as
did
you're
withdraw
going
the
to do
motion,
it.
Jan, because you said you'd take care of it.
Okay. All right, will you note that in the minutes,
Well,
Charlene, that we will take care of sending the
Today.
necessary forms today to cancel
Blue Cross Blue Shield
the Blue Cross Blue Shield.
and the workman's comp.
Well, that's,
no.
you guys have the middle of January on that
All
one.
right.
Meeting and so it would be effective.
Well, I mean, it doesn't need to get done today. Wednesday.
Okay. Jan will take care of sending notice to Blue Cross Blue Shield today
Yes,
of what?
to
Cancel
cancel the
Cancel
policy,
insurance.
cancel the insurance.
Blue Cross insurance.
Now, since we're talking about letters, has Roger gotten a letter that they're evacuating his building and it's,
He hasn't gotten an official letter, but we have talked to him about it.
yeah, but verbal agreements aren't, they can be changed. You might have to still keep paying rent if you don't send him a notice that you're evacuating. I've rented plenty of places, I know, you gotta have it
Well,
right.
I will write a letter and deliver it to him that when we decide on the definite date that you want to move.
Now, do you have the key, Jan, to that?
Yes, I
building?
have
We're
a key.
supposed to
Will
do
you
an
leave that today?
application
Yes, I'll
first.
leave that with you today.
I appreciate that, 'cause I'm gonna start
Go
moving that
on
stuff
with-
Friday.
In the past, it was noted that they were going to be moved out by January 1st. He should have gotten a letter saying you're moving out, you're vacating, or you're going to get stuck paying rent if he wants to be nasty. I'm sorry, that's the way it is.
I talked
Whoever's
to
holding the
Roger
rent.
and he's like, yes, you should have a letter, but I understand you're moving. And I told him we would be out by the end of the month. We are discussed with everybody's schedule to move it up, which will be Saturday,
Okay.
this Saturday. Bob and I have trucks and I have talked to Jim Metz at the bank. His basketball boys are going to come help move for their community service. I don't.
Okay, so that's
He's got
on
20
the
boys, and I said,
That's on
no.
the 22nd, and that's why I will need to give you the key because that is Pancake Day in Barnard, and I will give you the key when I leave the meeting today.
Okay.
We're off the agenda, so.
Well, that's okay. We'll just
All right.
cross that one out now. We've got that one taken care of. Okay. I will also go to the bank and ask them to send the printouts to this location. What's your number, Becky?
116 West Lincoln.
West 116 West Lincoln. To print out and send a bank statement here. Okay.
Okay, so this says you haven't got a letter, track answer to your letter, but you have now.
Okay. All right. We're going on to old business. Okay. I sent a track letter to Teresa, which means they put a tracking number on it, and then I can check on it. And yes, she did receive it.
How do you know? A tracking number Susan Jean down the street can take. That's why we wanted a certified letter only she could take. Her husband couldn't accept it. Her kids couldn't accept it. She had to sign that we knew she got it. A tracking number, anybody.
I went to the county commissioners meeting on Monday. The commissioners said if we would get a written letter that you received a verbal resignation from Teresa, it would be sufficient. We need to move forward with our business and forget about her.
Okay.
That's exactly what they said. So we've got the letter here. Judy has it. And so we're going to move forward with that.
All
She
right.
has resigned her position.
Okay. If that is acceptable to them, Bob, that's acceptable to
It's
the
acceptable to
commissioner.
commissioners.
Okay.
All three said that's fine.
Okay.
All All right.
I'm the one with the report on Jeannie Kringle.
Uh-huh.
She's on vacation. She will be back tomorrow.
Okay.
But I talked to her. She is willing to do these books, income tax, like I told her. I was in high school the last time I'd done income tax, W-2 forms. I've forgotten a lot. And I have no intention on trying to pick it up. A rough estimate, she says she would charge us $100 a month for doing paperwork, filing, whatever we got to file for.
1099 form.
Yeah.
1099 form.
She thinks she wanted to know a rough estimate of how many checks there were, and I didn't know, but I just started reading off what I did know. She's like, I think it would be much less than this, but I can't go up. I can go down.
You can go down. Okay.
So,
Well, right now it's
Yep.
only about, like you can see there, 4 or 5 a month, depending upon what our
but
bills are.
I think this would be good and would like to move that we hire Jeannie Kringle to do finances. She wouldn't sign checks, we still need it, but she'd do this paperwork. And when we elect officers, since we're having such a hard time with people, not have 2 offices, have a secretary/treasurer that would sign checks, because you got to have 2 people be able to sign checks. You know, someone could drop over dead.
Well, the president.
Well, we do now.
President and the treasurer both sign checks. Can sign checks.
That's what I'm saying.
Well, you said secretary.
Now,
But instead of having, okay, now you're the treasurer, she's secretary. It's hard getting everybody. It would be, since Jeannie's taking care of all the finances, it would be secretary/treasurer to sign checks.
the way it is, it's either or.
Yeah,
What
it
she's
Either
is.
I
saying-
sign
what
it or
she's
she
saying
sign
is-
it.
But
You will not
what
have-
I'm saying, you as president and her, if this was a secretary plat, it'd still be 2 signatures there, but one of us, someone, could suddenly drop over dead, and you got to have that second signature.
No, we only
Doesn't-
have to have one. Now we only do one.
Well,
But
if
2
you,
people can now sign.
yes.
They can. So,
I'm not saying every check needs 2 signatures. You would still have, but she wouldn't be doing all this financial spreadsheet that we did have. That would be Jeannie's job. The secretary/treasurer would be able to sign the checks. Basically, that's all, and make sure that, hey, there's money. So that the president or that one could sign. Does anybody else understand what I'm
Alright.
trying to say?
Here's what she's trying to say. Jean Kringle cannot sign the check.
Right.
She is our financial advisor.
Right.
She's taking care of everything.
She's
So,
doing the bookkeeping.
the secretary, and we have to have a treasurer, is my understanding.
Yeah.
Do we have to have a treasurer?
Okay,
on the executive
I
board?
ask. What I'm proposing, is this legal in the organization?
Actually, this is how the Area Agency on Aging does it. The people that are doing the bookkeeping are completely separate from signing the checks. So all they're doing is doing accounting of what's coming and going and reporting to the board. The board gets to then determine how the funds are distributed, but you have to give somebody the authority to sign checks. And I would recommend that you put that on some sort of a schedule. So that somebody comes down to the center, we know that they come at a certain time and only sign other checks in an emergency because we forgot something or something didn't go right.
So that would either be the president or the secretary or the
President
treasurer.
or the treasurer.
But what I'm asking, can you have a secretary/treasurer that would sign check, or isn't that legal?
You get to decide who is going to be the signers on the check, and you could have that one person be the primary signer, but you could also have you need to have a backup. You need to have at least one backup. Actually, our agency has multiple.
Well, as big as you are.
Exactly. Well, signing checks with us is really quite a deal, let me just say. But point is, we have the usual who we expect is going to be signing all the time, and then we have the backup because those people are not always available. So, and if you're only going to require one signature, then at least two people, but it's okay, considering what you've been through, to have maybe three on the account. That way you actually have three people who are able to function at any time with the bank account.
To make it kosher. So they never
Yeah, that way you know.
Also, the other thing I might recommend is you find out the rules from your bank, because I have been involved in a bank before that wouldn't allow us to change signature cards unless everybody on the signature card signed. As long as you understand what the rules are, then you're able to function with that.
Okay, now the suggestion was made by Mr. Nitch that we have two people sign the check so we know exactly where the money goes. It takes two signatures, the treasurer and whoever else. All right, and I understand what Karen said. Mrs. Crankle, all she's going to do is be financial. She'll take care of our business and let us know exactly where we're at as far as money goes. But here's the catch. If one of us passed away, which is we're older seniors, then the checkbook's no good. You have to have somebody else sign that. So we have to have at least three people signing checks, or allowed to sign checks. I don't know how you say that.
If you're going to require two people to sign every check, then you have to have a third one backup.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And heaven forbid,
That's exactly what I said.
there could be you might not drop dead, but you could have a funeral or go to the
Right.
hospital.
So what's said is if Judy was in the hospital, now I'm going to get an example. I won't do this, but Marge will sign a check in her place. It'd be the third person, you see. So we need it. So do you make a motion for that?
I thought I did.
She moved that we hire Jean Krangle to do finances, was the motion that I heard.
Okay.
Well, then Jean Krangle would know how much to take out of each paycheck that goes to different things.
I mean,
Taxes.
she's an accounting person here in town. She does the books, some of the books. Doesn't she do some of the books for the seniors?
Yeah, she helps with the senior center.
All right. I will second her motion that we have Jean Krangle do our finances. Is that what you want to say?
That's what I did.
I'll second the motion.
Okay.
I'm beginning to think that you need a second person on everything you do to back up what's going on, because there's too much dissension about whether it was done or how it was done.
True.
If you go to the bank, you should have somebody with you. If you go to talk to the guy about the building, take somebody else to verify that you did it. It's ridiculous to go through all this.
When I became treasurer, I had to just go down to the bank and sign a card. Both banks, I had sign my name. That's all I had to do.
Mm-hmm.
They were scared.
Aren't you on it too?
Yes, I'm on it.
So there's two on there now.
There's two on there
But
now,
it only takes one signature.
Yeah.
but it
Right,
only takes one
right.
signature.
Okay. So I think the discussion's over with.
Madam President,
Yeah.
we actually have a financial person. I'm going off the board. But we have a person who's very versed in financial on this board that could do it if she stays on, and if she wants to do it, would want to do it. She's been a financial officer at Beloit, Mitchell County Hospital for years, and she knows all about that.
The only thing is my time is up. And there's other people applied for
You can
my
reapply.
district.
I'm just,
You can reply. Okay,
We hope that you do reapply, Nancy.
and truthfully, as far as I know, the one person has rescinded.
I guess what I'm thinking though is go ahead with Krangle to finish out this year.
Well, yeah, it'd be hard to go in
Yeah,
this mess
yeah.
and try to
I
figure
This
it
year
out.
is
Have
just
her
about
finish out
over.
this year and
Yeah.
do the reports and everything.
We need to have that done because the 1099 has to be sent out, and we.
Yeah.
So you want her hired only for 1 month.
Well, I don't know that I'm going to be on anymore. I mean, so.
But Nancy, hopefully.
Well, I mean, if Jan has people already applied and
I don't think I have anybody.
3, I'd be in
I'm not
3.
sure. No, I don't think so.
But Nancy, we have to have you as our treasurer. We need to have a treasurer to be on the executive board. So we're hoping you reapply.
Okay.
It's called pressure.
Well, still, there's
Okay.
a motion and
Well, it's,
second.
and the motion is that we hire Jeannie to, what do you have as the motion?
My motion was that she carry on for the full year.
Judy moved and hired Jean.
In other words,
to
till
do the
December of
financial work.
2019. That is
Okay.
what I'm thinking.
Now,
Until
won't you have
December.
have the regular treasurer, and then Jean would do all the other stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have to have a treasurer to be for the
Yes.
executive board to be in full function. But for the vote, that's where our bylaws read.
Yes.
So
Okay, but
And Jeannie would
essentially
do all
that
the
motion means
federal
that
and
Jeannie is
government
going to
state.
do a lot of the
Unless-
paperwork.
Nancy.
Right,
That's
she's
right.
That we
the
need to get
financial,
done.
she's
We
gonna
have-
figure out
Do
the
we
mess.
understand that?
she would know exactly. Well, we have to have her for the end of the year.
Yes.
So we have to have these financials done in order to apply for our new budget. And if you don't have that done, we're not going to receive any money next year at all. I mean,
You're asking her to figure out the whole mess and put it on paper
that's right.
and sign
So,
her name to it.
what-
I think it'd be worth more than $100.
Well, that's what Judy said. We'll have to finish out the year with her and then start the new year with her, but we still need a treasurer.
Yeah. Okay, does everybody understand the motion now?
I don't think so. My motion was that she carry on. Then if you want to vote an actual treasurer, that's a different one.
We'll have to do that later. Okay. All right. So she is going to do the end of the year paperwork and that we need to have done, and then carry on through the next year.
December 2019.
Yes.
That's
Okay.
what I
All
meant.
right. Everybody
Yes.
understand that? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I second the motion first, and then we'll say,
Yes, I already wrote
all right.
Okay. All right. What time? Time? Becky?
Sorry. 9:49.
9:20. Okay. All right. Next, anything else under old business? Okay. New business. Okay. First of all, okay. I don't want to go to. Okay. Do all of you have your district map somewhere?
I gotta go get my numbers.
If not, I'll lean this up here and do something and we'll try to figure it out.
Oh, it didn't affect my car.
Give me your key and I'll go get it. What do I need to get?
Well, car's not
She's
locked.
got this one.
Okay.
She's got one here.
Okay, okay. First of all, I have from Charlene, and even though if you have that list, Charlene has one more year on her term, and she would be from District 2. And of course, I am resigning and going off the board, so I'm also from District 2. So Charlene C. says, please accept my resignation from the Lincoln County Council on Aging, District 2, following the December 18th, 2018. I will finish my secretary notes on that day and then turn that position over to whoever the newly secretary will be. It says, I wish you all the continued success and so forth. Okay. So, and Bob, what does your
He's in Madison.
you're in Madison. Okay. So
That's
we still
part of
have
District 2.
we still have a representative
Madison's in District 1.
No, this is the new map. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. The new map, District 1. Okay. So, and I have Bob's letter of reapplication for that. Okay.
Is he District 2? What is it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, District 2, I'm sorry. Yeah. So, and according to the new, what we passed as amended, let's see. 2 representatives shall be appointed from each of the 3 districts, and Bob is District 2, which is the same one that Charlene and I were. Okay, so we need one more person for
Which district am I?
over there, okay?
You're in 1.
All right. Now, District 1, I have, now I'm not sure about the address.
Okay, District 1 is Marge and I.
Okay. And Jeannie, did you figure out what district you're in?
She's in 3 because she lives west of Highway 14.
You live west of Highway 14? Okay, you're in 3. And Kathy Moss has applied. She would be in District 1 because she lives in the apartments.
She could be the at-large person.
Who?
Kathy Moss.
lives in a house
Does she live in the house? Is it on the
on
west?
North 4th Street.
Okay, so she'd still be in 1.
I don't know.
She'd still be in 1.
I don't know.
Okay.
She could
Okay.
do it
I'm going to mark that. She'd still be in 1.
She said it might be a conflict of interest, and because she sits on another board. If it were, she would resign from the other board. That was the talk. Don't know.
Okay. What other board is she on?
I don't know.
Okay. Now we have to figure out. I have another application from Alan Serena, and it says 1450 East Iron. So
Now
he has to be where?
he won't be on the board at all. He is against Sylvan, and he's against LCCA. He thinks the money should go to the community centers, not senior centers. So he told me that if we can't reconstruct where the money goes to community centers, he does not want to be on the board. So we don't want him on the board.
Okay. And what district would he be in, Bob?
3.
He'd be District 3.
He's being 3.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Okay. And
his
Bob.
application is rejected.
Okay. All right. So,
So we still need one for District 3, right?
And so, this is that.
Area 3.
okay.
I was saying.
He being in District 3, even though his address is East Iron
mean,
Street?
She lives in the country,
Yeah, he lives out in the country. He lives west.
and I imagine that's.
Oh, he does?
Yes.
Why does it say East Iron Drive?
Because that's the way they set
That's
up.
how they set it
Oh,
When we
but-
lived north of
I forgot
Denmark,
about the
it was-
stupid numbering. I'm sorry.
So
okay.
Weird.
Does everybody else agree that this numbering is stupid?
Yes.
oh
Good.
yeah.
I'm hallelujah.
Okay, so in District 3 we have Judy, or?
No, I'm in District 1.
Okay.
Jeannie Freeze.
Jeannie Freeze, is that it?
I see.
So we need another, or what?
No, wait a minute. What do I have?
Kathy Moss, so she is.
Now, Jeannie, I have her down for
I knew that.
3. What's your address?
What, my address?
Yeah.
508 North 6th Street.
Are you on the west side of the highway or the east?
West.
West.
Yeah, so she's
I
in
live-
3.
Bob Bertelson's apartments.
Okay, all right. So she's in 3. Jeannie's in 3. Bob's in 1.
Bob's
Okay.
in 2.
I'm in 2.
Okay.
Who's on first?
Yeah.
That's what I would.
Okay. You're number 2.
I like to talk to people.
I mean,
And Kathy Moss is in District 1.
figure this shit out.
Yeah.
So, and it sounds like we're going to reject Ellen Serene. Okay.
You might want to reject me too, because I'm a firm believer in accountability, and if there's not going to be any accountability of anything, I don't want to be a part of it. I
Well, can you help us work? Because I'm going off the board.
Okay.
Can you help
I
us
may
work
not-
on accountability? Can you help us with accountability, Jeannie?
know, but I'm a stickler. I don't want to be the bitch of the bunch because I'm one of the. Well, I don't. I'm serious
Well-
because you.
Well,
you
but
think-
sometimes we need that.
If you think you can make a difference, Gene, then you got to be on the board. That's the reason I came is to help the seniors.
I
If
know.
you want to help the seniors, then let's get on the board. If you don't, just go elsewhere.
Okay, Nancy has something to say.
I
I
was going to say, if you only have one applicant for 3, I would go ahead.
Very
You
good.
want to reapply?
Or, yeah,
Yay!
Yeah.
All right.
if you want me.
Yes. Everybody
I
agree
move.
that we want Nancy?
Yes.
I
Okay.
move that we accept Nancy and Jeannie Freeze for District 3.
Okay.
I'll second
I
that
second.
motion. All right, let Mark second it.
Okay.
Doesn't matter.
Okay. Got that, Charlene?
I don't know.
All right. Nancy and Jeannie for District 3. Okay.
And I move to have Kathy Moss at large. We're still short one.
You already have one motion on the floor, so you would.
Oh,
yeah.
Share the
I
first
thought
one.
she was.
Okay. Okay. Do we all agree to the motion for Nancy and Jeannie for District 3?
I second.
Okay.
She seconded.
Mark
We
seconded.
got
Oh,
it.
I'm
We got it. We
We're
got
passing
it.
her vote.
Okay. Okay. All in favor? Raise your right hand. Okay. All right. Now, let's see. Marjorie, you're staying on.
Mhm.
So she's from 2, or she's from 1, and
I'm from 1.
you're from 1. So we have 2 already from 1, right? Okay.
Yes.
So,
And I move for Kathy Moss at large.
okay.
And we will be short one from District 2.
Mm-hmm. Okay, let me find hers
Since she has,
You made the motion.
Charlene,
You made the motion.
yes, I made a motion that we accept Kathy Moss at large.
I'll second the motion.
here. Okay.
That didn't come out right.
No,
The
for the
person
at-large position. That's good.
Makes it sound like I'm
I mean, say
Okay.
your pay.
And we'll
Okay.
write that down on the map, right? So we know where.
Kathy Moss.
All right.
I made the
So
motion.
district-
Anyone second?
Yes,
Yeah,
Bob did.
Bob seconded.
Okay,
you're
so
ready for vote.
we moved
You
to
vote on-
second
you vote on that.
to have Kathy Moss as your at-large position. All in favor, raise your right hand. Okay, that motion carried. So,
We still need to recruit.
we need to recruit one from District 2, and Charlene and I look at each other and we say, ha, I don't know who that's going to be. Right, Charlene?
Right. I don't know either.
And I, yeah.
Kids are gonna kill me, but
Yes, you will.
We have.
Okay, now your
My time is up.
your time is up, and you are in
2.
2.
Okay.
Well,
Charlene's trying to talk.
My kids think this gets me too upset. I don't know. I will finish out my other year, and if they don't kill me, I'll be here next meeting. Do I need to write it? Do I
Okay,
need to write
so-
it?
Okay, so
That's fantastic.
everyone give Charlene an extra hug after
Yeah,
this,
absolutely.
please.
I will.
She's looking
We
at
need
me
you,
every day.
Charlene, we do.
All
Okay,
right.
so we
Okay.
have Charlene DeWitt and Charlene Watson.
No.
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 She's
Oh,
on.
you're going on.
Yeah.
You and she are going on.
Yeah.
My term is up.
I'd say you've been on for 4 years.
I've been on 4 years.
Should be Charlene now.
Charlene, I moved that
Oh, yes, it would
We
be Charlene and
accept-
Bob.
Charlene Watson's
Agreement to stay on.
agreement to stay on the board one more year.
And I will
Finish,
give them a
to
recruit.
finish out her term.
Mhm.
That must
Time
be-
for you to step up and
I'll
say
third
you're
that. Both hands up.
They won't accept me.
Okay.
Okay, so, all right, let's vote on that. Everyone
I second it.
agree, oh, he seconded it, Bob seconded.
Don't vote on it. Don't vote
What do
on
you
it.
want to throw at him? Okay, all right, so Bob Lovelace and Charlene Watson will be our representatives for number 2. Okay,
Now for the,
do we have, what position don't we have filled? Do we have everybody filled?
we've got a full board.
Okay. All right. Now, my question is, I noticed, wait, let me get back to my.
For,
I got 6. I got 6. Oh, Kathy at large. Never mind.
Kathy at large. Okay,
Can't read on my.
all right. Okay, now, I noticed that do you guys want to elect officers or wait until you get these other people on?
I think we ought to wait till you get the other ones on. That's my opinion.
Okay?
but it says in December is election.
Uh-huh. But you don't have, I don't feel like I should vote.
Me neither.
Well, they're off the board.
Yeah.
Maybe we gotta wait till next month then, Judy. Get these people here.
If that's the case, who's going to the bank? Who's signing all these papers for another whole month until the 4th Tuesday in January?
We can still do that. As long
Jan
as
has
our
to do
new,
that because her expiration date's not till January 1. So today's only 18th.
Some of the commissioners, I don't think I can handle that.
Do what?
I don't think I can handle having Alexis Wood screaming at us all year.
I asked, excuse me, I'm sorry. A week ago Monday, we went to the commissioners meeting. I asked the new gentleman,
Randy,
and I asked him who would be taking over Terry Finch's position, and he says to his knowledge, the way it usually goes, he takes over whatever was there. But if it's going to be, I don't know. He just assumed that he would be doing what Terry did, but is it in writing or anything like that?
in my experience with him and working, he goes the same church I do. And in my experience with working with him, there's not going to be any yelling.
oh, I don't have any problem with Randy, but I'm not going to listen.
But, I mean,
Sorry,
that's what I was,
sorry.
he told me outside. It
We don't have to
wasn't
worry
during the
about it.
meeting, it was
We don't have to worry
outside
about
when he was
Alexis.
talking.
We don't have to worry
So
about her
it's,
at all. No. I tell you what, the way it's going to go right now is Silva Senior Center is going to be their own indemnity. They're going to be their own. We're not going to have to worry about them at all. So we're not going to have to worry about Alexis because that's what she was concerned about. So they want to be, their bylaws were rewritten. They want to be their own entity. So let them be their own entity. We don't have to worry about them. They can go to the commissioners and ask for their own money. We don't have to do that no more. So let's just forget about them for now and just go on with our business. Because we care about our people. our seniors. So let's just forget about them for now.
Okay. Anything else on the elections then? Okay. Well, wait a minute. Bob, would you like to speak about your conversations with Karen
No.
about
No.
the director position? You know, Becky is the only one application we've gotten.
Oh, I'll let Karen address that if she wants to. The commissioner said they find no conflict of interest because she's only a part-time help here at the Lincoln Senior Center. So it wouldn't be any conflict with them if Becky would have the coordinator position. But we still have to make out a position description. That's got to be done. We have to have an open forum in the county, have them decide what they want to do, what they expect out of the coordinator. So we can't actually do that yet. I mean,
Okay, so that's going to have to be postponed.
Yes.
Okay.
Now, if I might, since
Yes.
I'm the one being quoted, and I'm going to stand up so I can see everybody's faces. So our agency, the way, first of all, I want to start with a couple of things. One, if we all have our vision on the seniors that we're serving, particularly the ones that are the most vulnerable people in our communities, the ones that we're delivering meals to because they can't get out on their own. And we are thinking about that. Then as we are proceeding with the business that we wish to conduct in order to support them, it changes how we think about what we're doing. So I am trying to convince all of our employees and everybody that's working for me for us to focus on the mission. And that takes the word me out of it. Okay, so I would like to start with that. Second, when we're looking as an agency on what county coordinators do region-wide, our agency sees a conflict of interest having one of our employees serve in that position. If you do not have a clear line of what you're expecting, what you call a coordinator doing, and maybe what you envision a coordinator doing is completely different from what we see. We have seen already, and I want to bring Becky in here because I want to give her a little something because I want her to understand that we value Becky. We think Becky is wonderful.
Becky.
We would very much hate to see Becky put in a position of having to make choices that cause her to walk on the edge of conflict of interest. So I want to start with something really important to me today. And I realize I'm taking up a little of your time. But every now and then we have somebody in our midst. I started out talking about the mission. Every once in a while we have somebody in our midst who gets the mission. We were over here for Medicare counseling. We were here all day long helping people, and we had one person who hadn't made it yet. And we already knew this person needed to be served because we had a packet of stuff from the pharmacy to serve her. And I tried calling her twice on the phone. Could not get her on the phone. Hadn't gotten her here. It's past time to close up. What are we going to do? Well, Becky took it upon herself. I'm going to go over and I'm going to go see her. Went over to the woman's house. Went over to the woman's house. We find out then her phone's not working. Now, I want to start with this is way above and beyond. I debated on what should happen with that. I figure public recognition of somebody who gets the mission and a little something from me.
Oh, thank you.
Then I wanted to add this as I was about to go down this path. When the Area Agency on Aging looks at what a coordinator does and what a coordinator is asked to do, And the fact that a coordinator may have, what their main goal from our viewpoint is a linking people to what they need, not going to do it themselves, helping to find the volunteers who help carry out this mission within the community. But also, and from our experience, has been that coordinator gets involved in these kind of discussions that you've had here and is expected to come and report and also be able to present how we're spending money. When that happens, there becomes a step over into a conflict of interest. And it could be that what you are envisioning for your coordinator is not what the area agency on aging perceives one to be. If it is, we're going to have activities in the afternoon, and we want to make sure that that happens at all of our senior centers because we want to be sure that people are not isolated and they have opportunities for health and wellness, and we have opportunities for things like that. That may not be a coordinator position so much, and in which case that might be open for discussion if we're going to have like an activities leader. But other than that, if you're really looking at what you had Teresa hired to do, our agency would see that as a conflict of interest. And that's why in the letter we said it was incredibly important, which is what I've said all along, incredibly important that you have a careful consideration of what you want that position to be before you actually hire for it. Another thought that I have, and I'm hoping that you all will consider this greatly, and I'm hoping I'm bringing a Christmas message. Because I wore my angel pin just for this reason, to remind me of this. It is very hard to move from a place where you have had a lot of conflict. You all have an amazing opportunity right now, an amazing opportunity to see a bigger vision, one where everybody wants to come to these meetings. One where everybody feels included, who they are excited in the fact that they can participate. There are a lot of problems standing in the way of that happening. And it is going to take some people who are willing to make step after step calmly in towards the future and keep remembering that I have the ability to watch how I reply and what I do when somebody makes a statement that gets me upset. And how I reply may make all the difference in moving us down that road. Another thing that I've noticed with groups is that we don't notice when we are being exclusive. Exclusive meaning that I'm all used to my friends. I'm used to my friend Bob here. I'm used to my friend Judy. We start talking and we start planning out what is going on. And over here, this young lady over here didn't get to say what she wanted to say and went away feeling like she was excluded. I don't think that'll be you.
Thank you.
I learned that lesson back in my 20s. This is hard. The elder from my church came and said, you two ladies are planning out everything that's happened with the Christian education group, and you've got two people over here who are feeling like they're being excluded. And that was very hard for me to hear that. Very hard for me to hear that. And because they didn't speak up. And so we weren't going anywhere unless the two of us I had to learn as the chair that I had to actively go and include them. Another thing that I think will be very hard for everybody here, very hard, and that is we have a lot of feelings that have been stepped on. And people's feelings have been hurt. And they have been very upset. One of the hardest things about that is there is a cost. There's a cost. The cost is that I'm going to have to set aside those feelings, and I'm going to have a level of forgiveness. And until that happens with everybody in the group, and we find a way with this group to be able to have a meeting where all of us are excited to be here, we're still going to have to be forgiving of one another, because I know there will be further conflict as we try to work through this. I prayed pretty hard over this meeting. Pretty hard. I was told that I needed to bring a message of peace. Can't think of a better time of year to do it. Can't think of a better time of year to focus on the mission that we have. And you're about to launch in with new officers. As you all are thinking about that coordinator position, I would suggest that you actually take a step back. And instead of rushing it through, that you take some considered time to really think about what it is you want to accomplish. And once you've done that, maybe more than just advertising, you actively want to go and talk with your communities that you're serving. If you're hiring somebody just to carry on here in Lincoln, the town of Lincoln, then that's one thing. But if you're thinking about Sylvan Grove and Barnard, maybe we need to go over and do some actual talking with the people over there. And convey the fact that what we'd like to do at the end of the day is make sure that they feel included. And we don't know that we can get there unless we include you. Now that would be what I would have to say. And it isn't, I don't want anybody to feel, because there was a little bit of this. I'm going to, in the future, if people are calling and asking, what does the agency think, I tend to get those calls. That's fine. But I think in order to make it so that we have one voice speaking for the agency, we'd like to send our letters to the chair of the board. That's what we'll do. Anybody who calls us and asks for information, that way it goes to the board chair and it can go out to the entire group. And hopefully then we will have a reasonable way of communicating. We have nothing to hide, but if we're speaking through a filter, different people calling, each person has their own interpretation of what it is that we were thinking to say. I'm not so sure that that will actually help you be able to move forward. So I think that would be better. Whenever I write a letter, I also have to copy our board members. So any of our board members who serve here will also receive those letters. And we are going to try our best to be as transparent as possible. Now, I was also asked, what is the role of our board members? I brought copies of our board members' descriptions today, and I will make sure that everyone concerned, our board chair will get a copy of that today, and both of our board members will receive that in the mail, since neither one of them are here today. And so, I think I've probably said enough. I appreciate all of you. I want you to know that we are very well aware that you are volunteering, that you are, I think out of the goodness of your heart, you thought that you could help bring this along. I hope you can too. I believe that you can. As a matter of fact, now, all the way home, you know I'll be praying for all of you. So I'm expecting that it all can happen. But I also know that you're going to have some conflict that you're going to have to figure out how to resolve in a peaceful way.
Thank
I
you.
have a question though for you.
Yes.
We're in moving forward. I mean, we have Becky, you know, in the mornings till 1 o'clock, from 8 to 1 or 7 to 1, whatever. And in order to reach the outlying counties, we cannot expect her. I'm wondering if we couldn't maybe do a temporary thing.
Well,
And you know what I'm saying? Involve it on a temporary basis where she would have a 1 to 5 when she finishes with the other job, a 1 to 5 job, and she could go out to these counties and explain and be transparent with what she's trying to do here.
So have you asked Sylvan Grove people or the Barnard people if they want to come back in the afternoon for things that might be happening in the afternoon? They may not want to. And if we're thinking about being inclusive, then what we should be doing is talking with those other people in those other centers first. Because much like here, I'm not sure how many of your people want to come back in the afternoon either.
Well, I don't know. What I'm suggesting is not as a temporary, try it temporarily. Not, I mean, I don't think we can ask her to do it. I think she needs compensation for her time, for her mileage to go out to these counties and try to have these programs and reach them in order to bring it all together, is what I'm saying. Is there any way that on a temporary, and she might decide that isn't a job for her, she's on 8 to 1. And I'm just asking, I would hate to ask anybody to take on that responsibility and not feel like they were being paid or compensated somehow for it.
Well,
You
right,
understand?
and I
On a
completely
temporary thing and see if it would work.
well. So here's the thing: you have an opportunity to use that idea. That's one idea, and it might work. Certainly, we're not going to tell you. The Area Agency on Aging is never going to tell this board who you have to hire, what you have to say that person does or doesn't do. That you guys are the ones that do the hiring. But I guess the word that I'm saying is that if we're trying to shoehorn Sylvan Grove into 1 to 5 without asking them whether or not that would work for them.
But they don't want anything to do with it.
It's not that they don't want something to do with us. There's a lot of, like you said, hard feelings, and they've got, different outlooks of stuff.
I talked to them yesterday and told them about the meeting this morning. It would be appreciated, but I'm sorry, I don't see them here.
I got a call from Mike. I can prove it on my phone first thing this morning. I was in there. He already had pre-deals. They're working. They wasn't ready for this. But it's not that they don't care.
I would agree with that because I was over there doing SHIP counseling.
Yeah, different
talking with them.
Outlook. And someone would rather, like you said, an evening meeting because some of them still works. So I think myself, Bob, and I talked about it. Get a meeting for everybody to come and visit and see what everybody's outlook would be for them to come
I'd
back.
actually go over there and ask, can I come over? We want to come over and listen. Not we want to come over and tell you stuff.
I tell you what, we have, last 4 or 5 months, we go over there, all their meetings, go over there for coffee. They're a fantastic group of people.
Yes.
And they care about the seniors over in Sylvan Grove. And they care about the seniors in Lincoln County. But the conflict in the past has caused a lot of animosity. They're really good people. I enjoy going over there. I hate to come over here because of the conflict that we've had, but it's going to get better. And Karen, the letter you wrote to me, I thought I should share that with our board members.
I appreciate you doing it.
Because it was right to the point. And the 18 county board member took the county commissioners and tore it down, which wasn't said at all. And that's what I had to go back last week and tell them that person was not telling the truth. And they even had a letter because the person gave them a letter. So it hurt me real bad that she would do that to our commission, to our board. And they understand that now. And so she really, I don't want to say my name, but anyway, they quieted it down. And so now, I don't know where she was at yesterday. I didn't go back yesterday. But the letter that you gave was right to the point, and I really appreciate that letter. And I thought it was right. Everybody should have a copy, so I gave everybody a copy. And Cindy, I gave her one. And out of courtesy, because she is on the Lincoln County Board. But she went right to the commissioners, and she's been so derogatory about our board. We don't even want her here. Sylvan don't want her over there, but we can't get rid of her, because it's of the Cora.
And in general, we generally, when we are recruiting board members, it comes from the Council on Aging, who is getting nominated to that position. I'm not so sure this happened. I certainly am not going to be derogatory of anybody who's not here to defend themselves.
Exactly.
So what I'm going to say is this: each one of us have responsibility for our own behavior. I really cannot control somebody else's. I have advised that we have talk directly with people who call and ask us for information. And certainly if we're asked about how board items are filled, or if there's a controversy in a community, then our management team will take it up. Our management team did have a discussion over this, which is why I'm reporting. As we see a county coordinator position, it would be a conflict of interest for any of our employees to take that position. But that may not be the position you have in mind. And right now, I don't think we know because we don't have a job description.
Yeah, I think we need a job description, and Becky might not even want the job after she'd see the job description.
That's true.
And it may be that after you go over and talk with the people in Sylvan Grove, you may hear, if we're trying to do things where we're linking people to what they need to live successfully with dignity in their own homes, which is the overall mission, it may be that it will be hard for Becky to be able to do it on the time frame that they would like to have those things happen. Unless you have a strong group of people here who's willing to do her job there, in which case, now we're suddenly paying 2 people out of the meals program. Here's another problem that we have: limited funds for the meals program. Suddenly we're paying 2 people out of the meals program to do what's needed here, while we free her up to run over to someplace else right at the time when they are hoping to do this. A lot of our senior centers, the seniors don't want their activities in the afternoon. They want them in the morning. They come for coffee, they want to do their exercise, they want to come and have lunch, and they want to go home and probably nap. I'm not sure.
I want you to know that Becky has done a tremendous job for us on the time that Teresa's been gone. She's answered the phone, she's answered questions.
Right.
And so we really appreciate her. I want you to know that. And that young lady does a heck of a job. If we ever let her get her talk. Rose, I'm talking about you, Rose.
Thank you.
And so, anyway,
Rose is amazing. I
hate
appreciate
to-
that. So, I realize I've really taken up a lot of time, but I really thought that this was because there's a lot of misunderstanding. Everybody is trying to perceive this from their own way, and all of us do have our own lens of how we see things. So for right now, what I would recommend is that you take a step back, you think about what it is you want. You think, if you might, which this was, as I said, in my 20s, that was so hard to hear that from one of the elders of my church. It really hurt my feelings for a while because I thought I was doing fine. But when I really thought about it, I thought, well, if I'm hurting people's feelings by something that I'm doing without realizing it, then maybe I need to try harder on my end. And the result of that actually turned out that when I turned to those ladies who had felt like they weren't included, they felt better. Did they actually give us any ideas to do anything for Vacation Bible School and the Sunday school classes? No. But they felt better, and maybe that was the thing that needed to happen. Eventually it got better.
I really respect what you have to say. We have a young lady that's got to go.
Gotta go.
Deliver meals.
I'm getting there. I've got a few minutes yet.
All right.
So I'm going to sit down until you have something else that you want to ask me.
Okay.
I have one comment. Not hiring. Teresa used to go to the health department meetings once a month. Okay, for the last 3 months, there's been no one in coordinating things with the health department. So here is a service that isn't getting out.
So why don't we see about asking the health department in a lot of our counties, Wabaunsee County, Potawatomi County.
They already says she done a lot and they don't want to take it over.
Well, no, they came over and reported to this group what it was that you wanted to hear. Things like, we're doing the flu shots down at the health department. Then it becomes your responsibility to help everybody know about that. I'm not sure what she was doing over there, but it might be that they'd be willing to send a representative over here to report to you.
They do send two over to do blood pressures once a month.
Yeah.
And they do have contact. I mean, it's,
And Becky has had the county coordinator come to meetings at noon and give a presentation. She's done that.
From the county health department.
Yeah.
And so, and I would hope that they would.
And they do. And they do.
Okay, Bob, I have something to ask of you before I leave. You have all the people down that we have nominated for those positions. Do you have a list?
No, I didn't write them down.
Okay, all right. Can someone give him the list of those? All right. I would like to request, I know you go to the commissioners meeting every week. I would like to request that you take that because they will need to approve them and write them an official, and Dawn will have to write them an official.
Okay,
letter.
I'll do that.
If you will,
I will
get
do
that from Judy and be sure
I'll do that.
to do.
You
I
can
would-
do that.
This move is going to be Saturday. I'd like some permission to try and figure out getting in this computer for.
Mona,
You got the
you're
computer
have to
with?
get in that computer, I'm sure.
Huh?
Can't
No,
you?
I'm not. But
I mean, do you
I
have
want to
somebody?
go through. Maybe there's
Uh,
something in a drawer saying how to get in this.
But Mona and her husband, they're computer wizards. I think she can get into it for us and change the password.
No promises.
No, but I think we can do that.
But we need.
Could you make a motion for that? To have them look at the computer?
Well, if you know some, yeah. If
I
you
think you
think,
do need a motion on that.
yes,
Along
yeah, I think we do.
with a member
Well,
to be present with them.
you might have
well-
to take it with him.
Yeah, that's true.
So I'm just saying. give
Well,
them
you're going.
I'll make a motion. I'd like to make a motion that we let the Gershmans take the computer and see if they can open it up.
Well, we won't take it. He will come here or he'll go over there.
Okay,
No, no.
whatever.
We don't want your computer.
Well, I wasn't sure how you did that, Mona.
Yeah, no.
But they could. I know you can get into it, but we need to have a new password
Now,
chamber.
say your motion the way you want it.
I'll make a motion that the Gershmans try to open our computer to get the password out, or make a new password, so we can get into it.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we allow the Gersmans to try to get in a computer and get.
Is there only one computer there? I
Yes.
thought there were more than one.
Well, there's
No,
a
they're
printer.
not there no
There's a
more.
printer, computer.
It's a printer,
Yeah,
computer.
the computers aren't there.
Yeah, but are
We
they?
don't know. They left
We haven't been in the
here.
office except to get the commodities. So
Okay, and I will give
the
you
motion's
key.
made. All right.
Okay, it's moved and seconded that we allow the Gersmans to try to get into the computer before it's moved over here, or
Well,
Either
we-
way, somebody needs to have a key. We can meet.
yeah, I'll give him
Okay.
the key.
We can just
I'll
meet
get
you
in-
over there.
Okay.
We'll get in
Do you
touch
need
with
to
them.
see if there's going to be a cost in this so you can approve
No, we don't.
an estimate of the
She said
cost?
she said she wouldn't charge us.
We-
Oh, okay.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Right hand? Okay.
No promises.
All right.
Thank you.
Just for a moment, when you, as an employer, whenever we go to cancel insurance, we actually have to write a letter to the person and let them know, because for them to get COBRA, they need to know that the insurance is going to be canceled. Because if, God forbid, you cancel her insurance without notifying her that you're canceling her insurance, and if she has some sort of medical thing, she could probably come after you for whatever's left in your CDs. So you have to notify her so that she can make other arrangements. So that actually is a letter that should be done immediately, as in like today.
Certified letter. Yeah, where she's got to
Yeah,
sign.
so that
the
she
receipt.
knows that you are canceling her insurance as of some date, so that she can get COBRA or whatever she's going to do. Because if she has a lapse in coverage, she may be. We already know she likes to sue. We already know she likes attorneys, so that could be an issue.
But don't you think she does not have to accept a certified letter? She doesn't have to accept nothing.
All I know is you have to notify her. You have to notify her.
You have to make the effort of it.
Okay.
And she has to sign
And if we had
herself.
So, are you
And
going
it
to write that
costs
letter, Jen?
money.
What?
Are you going to write that letter?
It could be a very simple letter. Our
I
board,
could type it and then you just sign it.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Uh-huh.
And
Okay.
you're going to come back and do this paperwork this afternoon, right?
Okay.
She needs the paperwork so that she can move her papers.
Or are you coming back over to Lincoln?
Yes, I can.
Because I could.
Yeah, I said I'm not going to
about
be here. So
painting, but I don't know.
I can be. I can
I
write
got
it
some
just give it to
I
her.
can't help today.
All right.
Maybe
David,
tomorrow
our
she
office,
can have it.
we're going to move back over here by the 22nd, hopefully.
Can you bake some cookies for me?
I'll bake you some cookies.
Uh,
They'll be sugar-free,
That's
right?
bribery. That's bribery.
Should we move on?
Okay.
Some out here.
Okay.
Reports.
Okay.
Rose.
Rose.
Karen's going to give the field announcements.
Okay, I'll grab that.
Yeah.
All right, so I will try to be organized with this.
I gotta have cookies.
First of all, I think I've already thanked you, so I'm going to thank you once again. We appreciate all of our volunteers.
Thank you.
Number 2 on here is that we have year-round fundraising opportunities at the agency, but we focus on one of them this time of year called Project Thanks Living. This is a way that we raise money for in-home services through our agency. And please do keep in mind that even though you do not have a coordinator right now, you have an entire area agency on aging ready to step in and help people. It's simply a matter of calling the area agency on aging, and our Salina office, people can come over here and help support people. But if you are so inclined, we appreciate donations towards that fund that helps with in-home services. We were collecting during open enrollment season for the SHIC program, so several people have envelopes for that. And year-round, there's collections going on for keynotes. which Rose has a bunch in
I
the
do,
bottom
yeah.
there that we will leave you and a stack of the new ones. We would kindly request that you think about Older Kansas Day. I'm going to switch and do some advocacy right now information. Our Older Kansas Day is going to happen February the 12th over in Topeka. And a lot of people aren't sure whether they want to get involved in this or not. But let me just say, the state government is going to have an opportunity to determine how money is going to be spent. And yes, I'm with you. I want them. The big thing is going to be, how are we going to pay for our schools? I agree, that's incredibly important. I just don't want them to forget about our seniors and our senior services. So our whole point of being there that day, or sending a representative from Lincoln County, is to make sure that we have somebody over there who's talking or making a point of seeing that person so that they recognize that we're serious about this. Because I can tell you, every other group is serious about it, and they're showing up over in Topeka. So that's one reason we sponsor this every year. There is a registration form in here. People will always look at this, and it pointed out to me it says 2018. That wasn't on purpose. You know, I'm still in 2018, and I was doing it after a shift appointments one day. We'll change that to 2019 for next month. It's in here, looks like this. People see this, there are two things that bother them about it. One is, you're starting at 8 o'clock in the morning, I have to be there at 8 o'clock. The answer is no. The area agency will arrive as early as 7:30. We would encourage you, if you're coming over, to make an appointment with your representative in your senator. And if you make that appointment, let us know so we don't double up and also make that appointment for you. But we would encourage you to do that. And a lot of times now, they're just wanting to come to the lunch. The lunch is the big thing. Then you see on here, well, you're being asked to pay for the lunch for my legislator. I don't understand that. Well, please understand, the Area Agency on Aging gets taxpayer dollars. We can't spend taxpayer dollars on paying for lunches for legislators or lunches for an event like this. Our role in something like this is to be educators. That's our role. And also to encourage and set it up so that you can advocate on your behalf. If you're willing to pay for lunch for a legislator, we'd appreciate that, because somebody's got to pay, and it can't be the agency. So there's that. What are we going to talk about that day? That's in keynotes. We didn't have a print copy in time for this issue. It'll be in the next issue. It's called the Public Policy Goals. How do we get those? The Area Agency on Aging directors, all 11 of them, meet and discuss all the issues that are impacting each one of the area agencies on aging, and come out with a list of things that we're going to talk about that day. And let me tell you, that's a statewide document, and it all has to do with the meals program and in-home services, the kinds of things that we should be all on board for. We're going to try to keep our message to those topics that day. And they will try to change your mind on what they talk about, because they'll bring up school finance, and we'll say, well, school finance is important, but please remember our seniors. That's what I always come back with. And so while we're on advocacy, I want to talk for a little bit about what is going on in legislation land. In Topeka, of course, we elected a new governor. And she has appointed a transition team. And probably one of the smartest things that I've seen on that transition team is she appointed Dwayne, and I think it's pronounced Gosen, but it's spelled Goosen. So I'll let you decide. The man was the budget director for the state of Kansas under Democrats and Republican governors for many years. He understands how the budget works. And so, in my view, that was a stroke of genius to put him on the transition team and make him part of what we have to do going forward to figure out the problems that we have with our budget. Now, the next thing that's going to happen out of Topeka, this is something you all can do, is watch for it. The governor has a State of the State address every year in January. It's usually the second week. all of this group on the transition team have already been meeting. They started right after the election, as soon as they got appointed, to try to figure out what is going to be her budget request. And that budget, one thing I learned from being involved in the Area Agency on Aging, is that as far as the government is concerned, whether it's state government, federal government, your issue may be important to you, but until the government puts money to it, it's not important. That's their viewpoint. And so they've been meeting to discuss what's important and what are we actually going to put money to. And that's what we will hear in the governor's State of the State. And it's usually televised in the evening on public television or on the radio, so you can watch for it, and then you'll know where we're headed into at least what the governor's putting out there for the legislature to consider. We still have plenty of opportunities after she's put that out for us to influence what they actually are doing, which is why we always schedule this early in February when they're having their hearings. So a lot of us will be going and actually trying to sit in on hearings as they're talking about things that affect seniors that day, if we can. And you're welcome to sit in on any hearings. It's very educational. So that is the state government. Federal government, there's some good news and some good news and some bad news. The good news is back in September, Congress actually got their act together, and most of the things that would affect Older Americans Act got passed in September. So what they're doing is they were passing bills that allocate money to different parts of the government. Health and Human Services got funded back in September. That's huge. That's the meals program. That is in-home services. That's a lot of things that affect our seniors. But one thing that didn't get passed was the Farm Bill back then. Well, now we got good news. We got the Farm Bill passed. And that was also important for the meals program because we get our commodities through there. And we have a lot of people that are getting food support from that Farm Bill, and now that's passed. And it's passed for 5 years. So that's good news. But we're not completely done yet. Our president was on TV, and you probably saw it, with Nancy Pelosi to Chuck Schumer. What a deal. And at the end of that, and it's still hanging out there, is there's a possibility of a government shutdown. Well, when the government shuts down, you know what happens? The government doesn't pay any of its bills. So all the things that they've already said that we've agreed to that we will pay for, if they shut down, they don't pay bills. So, I never know which group I'm in. Maybe one of you are friends is Judy. I'm betting it's Judy. She's friends with Roger Marshall. I just know it. I just know it. She's going to call Roger on the phone, and she's going to say, Roger, I'm thinking that shutting the government down is not such a good idea.
Yeah, right.
Or maybe it's Pat Roberts. Maybe you're friends with Pat Roberts, Charlene. You just call up Pat Roberts' office. You probably talk to his aide.
I can wake him up.
You can wake him up.
He's in his chair.
So anyway, that is the thing that I would suggest you consider. A phone call to Washington. You usually talk to an aide, not the person themselves. You say, I think shutting the government down is a bad idea. I think you guys should find a way to compromise and keep things rolling. Anyway, that would be advocacy in a nutshell. Moving on to the next page, I want to recognize Becky and this senior center. And then I'm also going to give you a little bit of an assignment. You see at the top of the next page, it says, thanks to senior centers for 0 missed meals. This is incredibly important for the meals program. Anytime, what is a missed meal? Anytime somebody walks into this senior center and does not pay the full pay amount, which is $5.25, we can charge for that, and also does not have a valid current registration form on file, and we don't collect that $5.25, we can't ask the state to give us any money, because let me tell you, one of the things we discovered as we were working on this little problem is that the state is very exacting, and if we do not have it exactly right, every T crossed, every I dotted, they will not pay us the amount that we ask them to give us. So some of the things that we turned up, well, first of all, here's your board's role. Helping everybody to understand that the paperwork is important. Helping everybody to understand you have to fill it out every year. Helping them to understand that they're welcome. Anybody's welcome to come here and eat a meal. We're glad to have you. If you're willing to pay $5.25, that's great. We love to have you. It's a great meal for $5.25. You can't get a meal like that anywhere for $5.25. But if you are considering having it for less than $5.25 at a donation that you can comfortably afford, and you're eligible for the meal, then that means that you're going to have to fill out a registration form. Meanwhile, we're working on training with Becky. So what we found out is that everybody's got to use the same name all the time. Because the database, or here's the example, my grandma, her name was Cynthia Eunice. She hated Cynthia. She didn't want anybody calling her Cynthia. Frankly, I would have preferred Cynthia over Eunice, but that wasn't my grandma. As she comes in here, she fills out the form. Maybe the first year she fills it out Cynthia E. Or maybe she just filled it out Eunice. The next year she comes in and Becky says, well, it's got to be your legal name. And she puts in Cynthia E. Well, as far as the state's concerned, that's two different people, even though it's the same address. So now we're having to learn that we've got to be consistent. We're working on training with Becky. Now, when we say 0 missed meals, this was actually the August report. We are always working 3 months in arrears on this. And that's because they allow us time. Thank goodness they allow us time to get our act together and get our paperwork in so they eventually would pay us if we can find it. So that's the good news. We're all working together, and we decided we would start printing these in here so that we can get an idea of who is doing a great job. Becky, congratulations on a great job.
Yay! Thank you.
Cold weather rule, this is going to be quick because we put it in every year. The utilities will not shut off your utilities in the wintertime. They're not going to shut off your heat if you haven't been able to pay the bill. But that person has some personal responsibility because they actually do owe money. And they need to show up, and they need to admit it, and they need to ask for help. What this group can do is help people know that the utilities will not shut off your bills. You've got a copy in here of a flyer and also the web address so that Becky could even print them off rather than print from this, which will be a little hard to read if you did that. But she could actually print and put up that flyer up on the wall or hand them. I had one lady say, I think I'd like to hand that out at my church. I think the churches should distribute this so that people know what they need to do. So at any rate, that's the cold weather rule. Preventing elder isolation. This was a project of the National Area Agencies on Aging Association about 2 years ago. I decided it was incredibly important to leave it in here this time of year because we go into winter, and what happens with our seniors, particularly our homebound seniors? Well, snow gets bad, the ice gets bad. Does anybody go to see them? Do they get out? And we now have actual studies, college-level studies, evidence, this is what they call evidence-based, where they went out and actually did studies on this. Isolation is as deadly as heart disease. It's very bad for people. It's bad for them emotionally. It's bad for them mentally, and it's bad for their health, because if you come in here, for instance, to the senior center, Bob came in today. He's just looking a little peaked. You know what?
He is peaked.
You know what? You noticed that. You say, Bob, you're looking a little peaked. Is everything okay? Well, first of all, you express some concern. That helps Bob right there. Bob, have you thought about going to the doctor for that? You know, this has been going on for a while. Bob hadn't been going on his own. Now he's got somebody encouraging him. Suddenly he goes to the doctor. We get it all. We get better. We get treatment. We don't pay attention to those interactions with people generally. We do them naturally. But that makes all the difference in people being able to live well. And so, here's what I would suggest you all consider. Have you been to the
Kazoo
doctor
night.
yet? Here's what I would ask you all to consider as leaders in your community. Who's out there that's out at their house that you haven't seen for a while? Maybe it's time to make a phone call. Are you okay? Maybe it's time to make that phone call. So anyway, there's some tips in here to look at isolation, and I think it's a huge issue, particularly in the winter. A matter of balance and Tai Chi. Now, there's nothing scheduled for Lincoln County. That doesn't mean it couldn't be. Our executive director has asked me and Rose, you're going to start hearing from Rose probably every month. Have you all thought about whether or not you'd like to have Tai Chi? Have you thought about having a matter of balance classes? And the matter of balance classes are good for you. The trouble is, when everybody hears it, it's good for me, I'm thinking I gotta go drink some of that awful medicine that I don't want to take. And every time I hear from people, Hartford, for instance, they had these classes, they loved them. Wow, we're so glad we decided we'd come, because we didn't really want to come to that, and now we're glad we came. So when we have these wellness opportunities, I would like for you guys to consider, would you like to have it, when you would like to have it. And then we will help make the connections with the people back at the agency. Our talk show this month is going to be on SHIC. We got a little challenge, me and Aaron. We were supposed to do what's new for Medicare this year. Well, when you say this year, we're talking about 2019. The day came, we were supposed to do it, and I had a SHIC client. And this SHIC client was going overtime. Aaron had a SHIC client. That client was going overtime. We had to have somebody else start the call and let them know that we were going to have to reschedule it. So we're actually going to talk about what's new with Medicare. Oh, that would be tomorrow.
And what time is that?
It's between 2 and 3 o'clock. And how to dial in is right on here. And so we had a bunch, and you know what? You don't have to be a caregiver to call in. You want to hear about what's new in Medicare next year? Call in. We're going to talk about a lot of things. Medicare is got quite a few things that are changing. And also a couple of things that I think everybody ought to pay attention to as the new year happens. And so while we're on SHIC, and we've mentioned SHIC, and by the way, in January we're going to talk about cold weather hazards, and I don't have anybody that I've thought of could be a good guest for that. If you have a suggestion, let me know. Maybe the health nurse from the county out here might be a good guest. Maybe you know that. But if you think of somebody, let me know. We'll get that scheduled, the person. But now, on page 4, you know, Medicare season, as far as enrolling in a prescription drug plan or a Medicare Advantage plan, for the bulk of everybody, almost everybody, that ended December 7th. I'm glad. I was getting worn out going around. I was really glad to come out here. I think we had an amazing enrollment event right here in this room. I brought 2 other counselors besides me. I'm going to give this board a challenge. Let's get somebody from Lincoln County trained next year. Now John Highland with if you want to thank him, get in touch with me. Have Becky help send an email over. John Highland, out of the goodness of his heart, and he's a great guy anyway, drove down from Mitchell County, and I think he really enjoyed it that day. I think he did. And Jessica, for the county extension agent from Ellsworth County, came over, and she was supposed to leave early, and she goes. She said, oh, you've got too many people, I'm going to stay. So she didn't go to her meeting. So, I mean, that was things that those people did. What I would like to do is make sure we have somebody from Lincoln County who can also help. I think it's really important for us to have an enrollment event like we had. I think that's good. We had one in Sylvan Grove, and the year before, nobody came to that, and I'm not sure what all the problems were, but this year, so I only scheduled me over there, and boy, I tell you what, I should be able to help 8 people in a day reasonably, and I ended up helping 14.
I think Becky booked a lot of those, as they call.
So we had 2 or 3 that come over, but it was busy over there just with Sylvan Grove people. I had Sylvan Grove people all day long. In fact, the last ones that I had, I helped them up until 7:30 that night. So, I mean, I'm not saying that because I'm trying to make me special. That isn't it. Everybody that wanted help in Sylvan Grove got help. Everybody, I'd like to believe everybody that wanted help over here got help. And like I said, Becky went over to the lady's house.
Well, you were here till 7:30, I think, that night.
So what we want to do is try to have somebody in this community who gets trained and can be a resource also. But don't forget, the Area Agency on Aging is still there. There are a lot of things that people can still do. You can shop for supplement insurance any time of the year. But you probably want to know what you're getting into if you're going to start down that path. So call us. We're more than happy to help you understand how that works. We have a new thing for 2019, and we'll talk about it on the call tomorrow, but people with Medicare Advantage plans can still do stuff in January, February, March. So we got something on that. People who have extra help or Medicare savings that pays their Part B premium, they can make a change, but that's changed for this next year. So if they're wanting help, they should call us so that we can give them advice on what to do. If you live in a nursing home, now you guys aren't living in a nursing home, but you might know somebody who is or have a relative that is. They can change their plans anytime. That's an important feature of Medicare. We can help them anytime with that. People who need to apply for extra help or Medicare savings programs can apply anytime. We hope people that are actually what we need is a friend. A friend's got to help a friend do that because they don't want to do it on their own. I'm embarrassed. I'm not taking anything from the government, but a friend can take away the fear, the I don't know, and the why don't you do that? You apply through Social Security, and I know the area agency knows how to help you. Why don't you just give them a call and see if you're eligible? Anyway, that happens, and we've got people turning 65 all the time. In fact, there are 10,000 of them nationwide turning 65 every day. 10,000. So there's bound to be 1 or 2 in Lincoln County. And making that transition,
Try 83.
making that transition over from employer insurance to Medicare has got some hazards in it, and we sure would like to help them so that they know what they can do and not have penalties and not get off to a bad start. People all the time I don't know what is going on with this hospital bill. I don't understand. My doctor's saying this, the hospital's saying this, the insurance is saying this. And you know what? Those are complicated. And if necessary, we need somebody to sit down with somebody and have a look at what's going on and try to help them understand. Or maybe we need to appeal and get somebody to pay. And that is something that a good Medicare counselor should be able to specialize in. But that would probably be at the area agency level, not a volunteer.
What about ambulance?
Ambulance? How about if I talk with you at the end, because I can tell you about ambulance. I appealed an ambulance bill and was successful. I appealed the insurance. And then the
I
doctor...
have a friend I brought here, she's losing her, she lost her eyesight, but she got a bill that was over... it was last January. She just got it. $450 to go 7 blocks.
So rather than us discuss that particular case with the whole group, why don't I talk with you at the end? Because it depends.
Yeah. Well,
everything with Medicare depends.
I can give you her name or she can call.
Yes, and that would be good.
Yeah, because it isn't me.
So then I think that pretty much has taken us down to the end. I do want to wish everybody here a very Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. I think you are off to a great start towards making this a great county, a new day. A new day starts January. There's no better time to start off than January 1. We can always say we're going to have a better life.
I don't want to be secretary.
All right, so she's not going to be secretary. We got that figured out. We already know who's not going to be secretary. We just have to figure out who's going to be. So,
Well, before, I just wrote them up at home and sent them to Teresa's, to the computer, and she printed them out. Now I have to get them over here and, you know.
You did a
Things have
fantastic
changed.
job, Cheryl.
well, so one thing is, that's another thing for you all to think about. You know, things went a certain way for 13 years. I think the hardest thing for anybody is to change, and it gets even worse if you're past it, which is me, past the age of 55, and now I've got to make a change, and especially if I've been doing it a certain way for many, many years. That means we've got to think creatively. We've got to think about how it can be different and how it could it be better. Let's think, how could it be better than it was before? So
Thank
anyway,
you very much.
you are welcome.
Really
Thank you.
appreciate that.
Does Rose have anything to add?
Rose, all you got, all Rose has to say.
I got the
Yeah.
Just say very quickly.
And actually, I would have been happy with letting her say anything, but she just said you can take it with that. And she's smart. If you got your boss
Got your
here,
boss to do it. Let her do it.
you got your boss here. You let your boss do it.
She wanted you to earn your pay today.
Yeah, well, that's probably a good thing. Probably a good thing. It's a pleasure meeting all of you and talking with all of you today.
I'll make a motion to adjourn our meeting.
I second it.
That was fast.
Okay, that's all right. It's still open for discussion.
I forgot to enter the bill for this recorder. I'll enter it tomorrow. But can I go? I bought the warranty for $3. Can I go ahead and fill it out on my computer since we can't?
And Becky filled out.
Yeah, she could go and do
That
it.
reminds me, I have a bill too. Should it be paid this year? Or
Yeah, you should submit it.
it's for, I paid the Salina Journal to advertise.
Yeah,
You
you
need
I
should
forgot to
submit
bring
it.
it with me.
Well, I'm sorry, we can't pay it without a receipt.
Yeah.
Too many things happen without a receipt. So
The checkbook is there.
Take a picture.
Yeah, I do
And
think
walk it there.
there should be a limit on the time that they pay their bills, and they should have a receipt.
Yeah.
I told you
I don't want
accountability,
that.
I'm a
Now
witch.
you got it.
Well,
How about if I get the bill to you, come down and
Yeah, just,
yeah,
to you?
bring the bill to Charlene.
Okay.
just,
I didn't even
and,
think about that.
you come back to Lincoln,
Yeah, I'll come back.
or just drop here at Becky's,
Okay.
and then I'll stop in,
And then Judy has her bill.
and Judy has your bill, and I'll
in the stack with it.
I got a couple bills I'd like to see.
I'm with
Okay,
you.
and for everybody to know, it was not the cheapest one, but it was the only one Walmart had, and I felt it very important that because if I'd have ordered online, we wouldn't have gotten it until December 27th. And it came to like $43 for that thing.
Okay.
Holy cow.
Whoever,
It's electronics. You're okay.
whoever's gonna mail the registered letters is gonna have a bill too, that wants to
That's
her.
going to be
Jan will do
Jan's
that.
birthday this afternoon.
Yeah, I know
And
she's
she's got
got
to
she'll
go
need
with
this.
Becky. Yeah.
May I make a suggestion that if, I'm sure Becky can lock it up
yeah.
in something.
Okay. Anything else?
I think as long as either between you or I, we have permission to look in the computer, the drawers, and we'll be together,
Yes.
that nobody is to be
We trust
accountable
you.
to each other, that nobody's taking anything.
We
And
trust
that
you.
no one person is doing that, and we would do that from the agency. Also, if we had somebody walk off the job, there would be at least 2 people there, and as a matter of fact, taking inventory of what we were packing.
Yeah.
Right.
And then that
I'll make a
inventory would
list
be
as we,
presented to the entire board.
as we take it out.
I'll say no, I don't want to do it.
I take pictures.
Well, we have.
But that's another way of doing it.
Like everything.
So that has already been taken. The other thing is, if then it turns out that you think something's missing, you can document that you didn't have it there.
I made a motion to adjourn.
Yep, I got it.
Mark seconded.
I seconded it twice.
All approved. All approved.
All three.
Boxes there. And then we went in.